सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Verse number 63. वाद्यानादानुभूतिर्यदपि तदपि सा नूनमाघातगम्या वाद्याघातध्वनीनान्न पृथगनुभवः किन्तु तत्साहचर्यात् मायापा मायोपादानमेतत्सहचरितमिव ब्रह्मणा भाति तद्वत् तस्मिन् प्रत्यक्प्रतीतेन किमपि विषयी भावमाप्नोति यस्मात्. We have been seeing this one in detail, and its antecedents are in the with reference to the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and we read out the last time the original verses, mantras from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, giving a very unique example. And what is this example? The example is very interesting. The example has to do with the it's a layered and nuanced example. So, first thing we need to know is that everything is heard in a melody or a drum tala of a rhythm of a percussion instrument, or the melody of some kind of a wind instrument like a conch shell or a flute or a string instrument like that. What is that? Veena, etc. That melody or those sounds are understood, are heard, and enjoyed in succession at the same time. So if somebody is listening to a vocal music, and the musician first sings sa one day and then re the next day, then that is not music. There is something about the simultaneity of that experience. And so this is the first level of understanding. Before we actually get into the verse and look at it, then once we understand this, it will be very easy. And to go deeper, we have to also see that the connection between note number one or drum beat number one and note number two, drum beat number two, that connection is you. Because the drum beat comes and goes, right? And you, the cognizer of the first drum beat and the cognizer of drum beat the successive drum beats, number two, number three, number four, is you. So the gap between drum beat number one and drum beat number two is cognized by whom? You. So in more ways than one can say you fill up the gap. Yeah, you are the filler upper of that gap, literally and figuratively, because you are there to appreciate the gap between the two sounds. And what kind of a gap? It's the right amount of gap. Like I said, if the gap is too much, then you cannot enjoy it. And last time we got the example of the flower mala. The mala is attractive. When you put it on the Lord, it's attractive because you can't see the string. If you see the string, then it's a dried out, sad little remnant of mala. It's called nirmalya, meaning that which is to be thrown away. So if you hang the mala on the string and watch it, it will become longer and longer. The flowers will shrivel up, shrink, exposing the thread in between. And here, so this is the example. And here, the beauty of it is that the string is not, uh, the string is not objectifiable because it is you. So that which stands in place of the string, you're not a string, and neither are you strung out. This is just a metaphor here. So that which stands in the place of the string is that you. What is this you? Awareness, consciousness. So that consciousness alone is able to recognize the music in general while enjoying the sounds in particular. Why? Because your presence makes you able to do that. Your presence is able to enjoy the space in between the beats of the drum or the stringed the notes of the stringed instrument. Your presence, and then the space between the notes is enjoyable because you know the general way in which this melody is going to proceed. You know the general drift of what a veena sounds like, you know the general drift of what a conch shell sounds like, and you know the general drift of what a drum beats sounds like. So this is the second. So not only are you filling up the gap by your presence, by your awareness, this awareness is a twofold awareness. It's an awareness simultaneously, if we bring the example of the mala, of the string and the pearls or the flowers. Pearls, pearl mala example you get from the Bhagavad Gita. Otap protam, otam protam, meaning everything is intertwined like a set of pearls with a string. String has to be invisible. String is not easily visible. And that's why the string stands for that consciousness which is invisible and which, as it were, goes out, so to speak, and lends its existence. Lends its existence to everything else. And it lends its existence to the articulated sound of the drum. Dha, din, din, na, din, din, na. It lends its existence. So yesterday somebody was asking, you said Atma, Anatma has to be kept separated, but they are one and the same. How? This is how. This is how. The general awareness that I, as consciousness, is the one that is filling up the gaps between the sounds and enjoying the particular sounds. But then those sounds are not away from this awareness. And what is this awareness? This awareness now has taken on a particular taste, a kind, it has, as it were, become the drum beat without becoming anything other than remaining itself. It has as though become the drum beat. So now we are in a very interesting predicament. So you are listening to the tabla, and the tabla is making all these sounds in successive rhythmic motions, percussion. Very nice. And then what? So you are the general existence, the general awareness, the general unbound awareness, which is the only source of existence. Satchidananda Atma. You, as the Satchidananda Atma, what do? You illumine the Vadya and the notes it is capable of producing. So, this is the general awareness. Then, how do you illumine the notes? What are these notes? Are these notes separate from the ears that hear them? The answer, of course, is no. Otherwise, we'll be going into, we'll be here all day, all night. Why? Because we'll be going into that Buddhist koan, I don't know how they say it. But what is that Buddhist koan? The Buddhist koan is this, that, if a tree falls in the forest, will it make a sound? And if you know the laws, of course it will make a sound. Universal laws say that of course it will make a sound because of the mass of the tree, the height from which it is falling, and the kind of sound it will make when it hits the ground. It's all already there. But then, is a sound without a pair of ears? Can it be called a sound? Is an unheard sound a sound? Very interesting. So, an unheard sound is a non existent sound because it is not there. No ears are there to cognize it. So, the general awareness is the cognizer of each and every sound and the gaps between the sounds, which makes for the melody. But if we go a little deeper, then we find that the connection between the awareness of the sound and the sound itself is not just simply one of heard, object of hearing, and hearer. On the face of it, that's what it is. But to stop there would be a very, very, we will be doing disservice to ourselves to stop there. And this verse, based on the Brihadaranyaka mantras, definitely asks us to go deeper. What is that? How to go deeper? How to go deeper means to look at the fact that this awareness is the only source of existence. That's all there is awareness. So if you appropriate awareness to the status of being the hearer, then what is the herd? The herd cannot be outside of awareness. Herd means what? Whether you're talking about a herd of moving cattle or that which is heard in the form of the veena sounds, everything is not outside of awareness because nothing is outside of consciousness, nothing is outside of awareness. What is this awareness, consciousness? You. Okay. Nothing is outside of that unbound, limitless, self aware, self evident consciousness awareness. So, the relationship between hearer and heard is not a static relationship. On the empirical level, yes, vyavaharika satta. So, Vyavaharika Sattayam, from the standpoint of the Vyavaharika Satta, regarding Vyavaharika Satta, yes, you have the hearer heard split. You have the seer seen split. You have the thinker thought split. That split is what allows us to, to lead our lives in the everyday. This is how everyday life is led because of this split. Then you can talk to your neighbor, you can go to the office, you can drive, you can eat, you can drink, you can think, you can go to a movie. All these things you can do. Why? Because of this split. But the split is on the level of the what is called the empirical reality. There is a vista beyond this. Because, and why do I need that standpoint? Why do I need that vista point? Because this split is the cause of sorrow. This is why everyone wants to split from samsara because of this split. It is the cause of sorrow. Why is it the cause of sorrow? Because, for two reasons, it becomes the cause of sorrow because the heart is yearning for that which transcends the split. The heart is yearning for the wholeness that is beyond and above this split. The heart is not happy with this split. How do you know? Because we know this because can no object can fulfill a person. A person's yearning for this wholeness cannot be filled by any object, event, person, etc. One is left longing, one is left holding the bag of yearning. One is not happy. And the second reason is because we see the futile attempts and the feverish, desperate attempts on part of the people to make the objects in the world infinite. The objects in the world are already finite. They come with an expiry date, they come with a shelf life. And this shelf life is the cause of sorrow. वियोगान्तः संयोगाः सर्वे. All union is up till separation takes place. And when that separation takes place, nobody knows except Bhagavan who decides the karma based on that. Nobody knows. Is this is this is this union for a day, for a moment? Nobody knows. But yet, whether we are talking of an object of love, like a piece of chocolate cake, or something bigger, like wanting to be one with the whole universe, it's the same impetus. It's that same yearning. So, this twofold experiential reality, first of wanting something all the time, yearning for something whole, not wanting the split between seer seen, subject object, and second, to want something that does not come to an end, to want something infinite. This is everyday experiential reality of the people. That is, even though it is maddening and saddening, it is actually a blessing. The awareness of this is a great blessing precisely because it becomes a very important clue to see ourselves not in this quagmire, some kind of a standstill, stagnation. So, therefore, the higher vista point is available because it is needed. And that is why it comes to us through a really beautiful mantra here, beautiful verse, which talks about that awareness in terms of sound, because the sound is something which is where you can separate yourself. We're not so involved because we're taking out one sense organ. So, sound is available to the hearer, and the sound which is produced is the heard. This is the everyday reality. But there is a reality that is greater than this. And what is that? One part of which we have already seen. The sound is cognized generally because of the awareness that fills the gaps between the sounds and also cognizes the sounds. Between that, the gaps, what is in between the gaps, in between two sounds, is that awareness itself. That awareness of that silence is that awareness, is that consciousness, that is what cognizes this. Very nice. Then furthermore, if we can go, it's worthwhile to go a little bit further. And what does that teach us? Teaches something very beautiful. That which is produced, the sound that is produced, whether manually with the help of a guitar or a veena, any string instrument, or naturally in nature, still that which is produced is also dependent upon that awareness. It cannot be outside of that consciousness. And that consciousness being you, Brahman. How does this happen? Because there is only one consciousness, it quickly gets into the costume of the sound, and then it quickly, at the same time, as it were, morphs into the one who is hearing and swaying to the sound. So the swayer of the sound and the sound are arising. I have to now hold these two hands like this permanently. Are arising from being sustained by and resolving into, as it were, that same consciousness. Hearer heard is mithya, myth. Myth, I suppose the word comes from mithya only. Hearer heard split is as though there is no split. The split is an experiential reality. But that's what you want to get out of. That's what you cannot handle. That's what you don't want that to be the everyday reality. And so therefore, the advice of the writers of Vedanta, and even the earlier the Shruti, the original Upanishads, etc., is to always be in that awareness which is unsplit. How? By using the term as though, as though sound, as though ears, as though hearer, now seer, now thinker, now doer, now experiencer. So language is funny because we have the word see, and then you add a pratyaya. Pratyaya means suffix to it. What is the suffix? Er. See plus er. Seer. Here plus er. Here er. And then do plus er. Doer. Think plus er. Thinker. So, from the standpoint of language, this er is a suffix. Think, do, all these are substantive. That's the substantive to which this suffix is added. This is how we think. This is how we learn in grammar also. In Sanskrit grammar, it is not any different. The er suffix in Sanskrit grammar is called trich, tr, the one who leads. Ni, to lead, plus tr, netr, kr, to do, plus the er, Sanskrit er, tr, kartr, bhog, bhoga, the experience. And the one who is the er in Sanskrit is bhoktr, kartr, bhoktr, mantr, vijnatr, hearer, thinker, seer. See, it's the same thing. In Sanskrit also er is there, but it's more, instead of er you put tr, through. So you put tr with a dot underneath it. So therefore, language, as I said, is very interesting, very funny, because in all this it looks like the noun is the substantive which is taking on this, to which this suffix is tagged on. But actually, the suffix is the substantive. That is what is constant. See, thinker, seer, hearer. ER is constant. That ER is you. That is you. And it's not visible. It looks like a suffix. You are not a suffix. And that mentality has to be fixed. Yeah. That is what has to be fixed up, because you're not a suffix. Who told you you are a suffix? You are the whole, you are free, you are wonderful. You are the only thing that there is. So here itself also shows that same problem of not looking at the string and getting mesmerized by the mala without understanding what is it that is holding up the various flowers in and all their colorful and full blossoms, combination, leaves, flowers, seeds, so many things. Sometimes people put fruit also in the mala, small ones. Otherwise, you can't put make a mala of coconuts. Okay, yeah. So that would not be nice. After that, you have to, whoever you're honoring, some guru, etc., you have to send them, you have to have a chiropractor ready at hand, okay, to do some neck and back adjustments after adorning them with coconut mala. So such things are not the small things. Like you can make a lemon mala, you can do that. Certain things are nice, to make mala. You can even make a mala of vadas. Hanumanji, for Hanuman Jayanti and all, they make a mala of vadas. And when all the children come and they are not looking at Hanumanji at all, they are looking at the vadas. Quick, before it loses its crispness, before it is all just completely, eaten first by bees and all kinds of other flying things, give it to us. When can I have this? After Arati. When is Arati? After Chalisa. Well, Chalisa means what? 40 verses. Oh no, that's too long to wait. And so this is all, and even in the Vada Mala, if it's nicely made, the rope is not evident. Not evident. And that which is not evident as an object has to be self evident, because there are only two ways something is known. Either it is pramana siddha, it is self evident. Sorry, it is known through a means of knowledge, pramana siddha, or it is swatas siddha, self evident. That's the only way two things come to come to light. You come to light uh, without any other means of light. Without any other means of knowledge, you come to light, and therefore you are self evident, and everything else becomes evident to you. So, therefore, everything else in the universe is not self evident, it enjoys a dependent reality. You, as consciousness, have to cognize it. So, in that way, it is dependent on you. Here we see the subject object separation, Atma, Anatma. But then you can't live here. You can't live at this level. You can't leave it at this level. You have to go further. And when you go further, you see that that which you are separating from is that awareness itself, which is morphed into both the one that is the hearer, the one that is the heard, and the pair of ears, the sense organs, which is the means of knowledge. So here there is an erasure, a blurring, a complete erasure of boundaries. Boundaries mithya, hearer heard mithya, seer seen mithya. The 10th chapter of the Panchadashi, a very highly regarded work on Vedanta, talks about this very, very beautifully. What does it say? It talks about this, it's called Nataka Deepa. Yeah, very, very nice. So it talks about a dance concert. And then there is the dancer. She is very skilled. She comes shining in jewelry and wonderful Bharatanatyam dress. And her moves are like a gazelle. She leaps, she twirls, she spins, she lands with such grace. This is the dancer. And of course, the dancer is incomplete without a live orchestra. And the live orchestra, there is a musician, there is a vocalist who is calling out the rhythms. There is a one who is just calling out the steps and the rhythms, and then there is a vocalist who is singing the melody. Then there is a flautist, there is a violin player, and there is a one who with a tanpura. This comprises the orchestra, the live orchestra. Then there are some, what we call spot boys. So while the dancer is twirling and all these things, their job, especially in a dance concert, this is very important, is to just look at the floor. Why? Because sometimes in this quick twirling and these big movements, the nose stud of the dancer or one small head ornament falls on the floor, and then if she steps on it, it's gone. That she'll miss the beat, she will have pain, everything. So therefore their job is to discreetly go and retrieve that, and so they are also there. And then who are we forgetting? We are forgetting the audience who is just thrilled. There are people dancing, of course, badly in the back, and because they cannot match the dancer, but they think they are just caught up in the moment and they are dancing badly in the back. Why not in the front? Because they will obscure the view. The people have not paid the money to see the audience dance, okay? The people have paid the money to see this famous dancer dance. So they are in the back, they are doing some, they are, mimicking the movements very badly, but they are having a good time. Then what else is there? In the front, people are in ecstasy, people are going crazy, more, encore. Yes, yes, this is fantastic. Very nice. What a lovely setup. So, what is so Vedantic about this? This is just a regular dance concert. Of course, you put an ancient milieu. You put an amphitheater instead of a big hall, and then you put an outdoors amphitheater, and then it's all the same. So, what's the big deal about this? Well, because we are forgetting something. What are we forgetting? You know, don't forget the title of the chapter. What is the title of the chapter? Yeah, Nataka Deepa. We are forgetting the Deepa. This big firebrand, mounted on a pillar. This big, kind of a, what is that called, a wok, in which the fire has been started. That is the lamp that is mounted on a pillar, so that it can cast the light on the dancer, on the audience, on the musicians, and most importantly, during the absence of all these. Before the dancer comes, the audience is waiting with bated breath. Yes, our favorite dancer, she's coming any moment. But then the stage is lit up to welcome the dancer. Then she goes away again in between numbers to change her clothes so that the audience can be kept entertained. And then again the audience, waits. And then the absence of the dancer is lit up by this lamp. The presence of the dancer lit up by this lamp. The ecstasy of the audience is evident because of this lamp. So the audience, if they are the scene, and the dancer is, sorry, the audience are is the seer, and the dancer is the scene. That's only on one level. If we look at it from the standpoint of the Deepa, then we have another natak going on. There is an as though. There is an as though split between the dancer and the audience, between the seer and the seen, between the hearer and the heard, because the place to identify is with the lamp. That lamp here is the light of consciousness, Brahman, you, which as though morphs into seer, seen, drum beat and hearer of the drum beat, etc., etc., etc. So, with this introduction, rather a long introduction, let us look at this, what this verse has to say and offer. Vadyat, Vadyat, Nada Anubhutihi Yadapi Vadyat from the instrument, Nada Anubhutihi, the experience of the sound. One can say it's because of the musical instrument I have the experience of sound. Yadapi, even though one can say that, Tadapi, Tathapi, Sa Nunam Aghatagambya. Sa Anubhutihi, that experience, Nunam, indeed, Nunam means indeed. Indeed, Aghatagambya. That experience is dependent upon the sound being produced. So vadat nada anubhutihi yadapi. Even though we say, or do we say that because of the drum beat, I am hearing the sound. There is a connection between the hearing of the sound and the musical instrument that the sound is produced by. I think that's a better way to put it. Although there is a connection between the hearing of the sound and the musical instrument, how is the sound produced? The sound is aghata gamya. It is produced by the instrument being played or struck. Okay. And here there is one more level to see. We'll come back and see it at the end. But let's just understand the words here. वाद्य आघातध्वनीनां न पृथग् अनुभवः. Furthermore, aghatadhvaninam, for these struck sounds, whether it's a string instrument or a percussion instrument, na prithag anubhavah. There is these are not experienced separately. Kintu, however, tat sahacharyat, they are experienced simultaneously, leading to the enjoyment of a musical experience. This much is the example. First two lines, example. So, what is the example here? Vadya Vadyat Nad Anubhutihi Yadapi Tadapi Sa Nunam Aghata Gamya. Although the musical instrument produces the sound, it produces the sound only under particular circumstances. Just because there is a veena in the house doesn't mean you'll have music all day long. Somebody has to play it. Or sometimes what happens, the veena plays by itself at night. This is another stock example. Oh, is there a Brahma Rakshasa, some kind of a musical ghost? No, no, no. No such thing. What happened? Some gecko fell on the string. Some rat went through the strings, frightened itself, and then made a sound. So some kind of an impetus must be there for the sound to be produced. It's not just enough to have a musical instrument there. And then this is important because that impetus for the sound to be produced and that impetus which makes the sound heard is arising from the same source, which is that consciousness. That is where this is headed. Okay, so then nunam aghata gamya Vadyaghata dhvaninam too. However, it's important to understand that there is a holistic experience of music. It's not just one note and then day after tomorrow another note. Then that's not noteworthy. Okay, so it has to all be simultaneous in order to be called music. And it's not experienced differentially, but it is experienced at the same time. So we have, in the first two lines, we have that general awareness that pervades the existence of the musical instrument and the consciousness which cognizes the musical instrument. And then we have the particular awareness that is the cause, that is as though the cause of the sound, and that is the cause for the sound being cognized as well. That same consciousness, which as it were morphs into the sound, so to speak, and then morphs into, as it were, simultaneously without undergoing any change, as though morphs into the hearer and the sound. It's like, having a lamp. Another lamp example. It's like having a lamp and covering it with a clay, pot with few apertures. नाना छिद्रघटोदर स्थित महादीप प्रभाभास्वरम ज्ञानं यस्य तु चक्षुरादिकरणद्वारा बहिस्पन्दते. This is, this is what it is. Very, very beautiful. Dakshinamurti Stotra. And what does it say? It says that Nana Chidra, Ghata Udara Sthita Mahadeepa Prabha Bhaswaram. Imagine, visualize a pot with many holes of various sizes being covered on a lamp. Lamp is covered with this. In the ancient times, they didn't have disco. This was disco. And then the lamp would be put on something that you could just spin manually, of course. And then it would come to a standstill. And in a dark room, this is how the children would be entertained. Look! And especially if the small little apertures are in the shape of animals, even more fun. Oh, here is a donkey. Here is a cow. Here is a cat. Here is a dog. So much fun. So, but then, the children will count all these animals on the ceiling, on the walls. They will say there is a bear, there is a deer, there is a dog, there is a cat, and there is a snake. And then the parents will just lift this. So there are so many lights: snake light, and deer light, bear light. And then if the mother takes the cover off, it's just one light. That one light morphing, as it were, into five without undergoing any change. Because if you take the cover off, you then don't have bear light, deer light, this light, that light, no different light, just one light. Same thing with this consciousness, which flows like the streams of light through the eyes, through the ears, and then they go to the object of cognition and wrap themselves, as it were, around that object to be cognized and bring back the information, leading to the conclusion, janamiti, I know, which is incumbent upon, I know this, I know that, I know this. So this and that are particular, I know is the general one. I know deer light, I know bear light. These are specifics. But that is incumbent upon I am that I know. I am that. That I know is inextricable from I am. I am is in the nature of I know. And it is forever. Because that I know never comes to an end. I am never comes to an end. That I am is Sat, I know is Chit, all knowledge. And that which never comes to an end is Ananta, Ananda. Satchidananda Atma, that is I. And I can say, I know this instrument, I know the sounds it produces, I am the sound it produces, I am non separate from the silence between the sounds, I am everything. So instantly in the first two lines we have Sarvatma Bhava. Wonderful. Then it takes it is as though that is not enough. It takes it a little further. Maya upadanam etat sahacharitam iva Brahmana bhati tadvat. So the whole universe, bhati, shines. As what? Brahman. Whole universe shines as Brahman? Yes. But where is this Brahman? If the whole universe is Brahman, then I should be able to understand and see this Brahman, pick out this Brahman in a crowd and say, yes. If you had, like, sometimes, some people do bad things, and then they want to make sure that the somebody who says, okay, this is the fellow who took my purse, the woman is saying. And then to make sure that she's uh, not wrongly recognizing, there is a lineup of similar looking, similar height people. About 10 fellows will be there, on the side of a double mirror. They don't know it's a double mirror. And and so the person who has made the complaint is on the other side, along with the police. So, okay, pick out the one who took away your purse. And then what, then there will be, she will look, she will look again and say, okay, it is number 4. Are you sure? Yes, number 4. If only, Brahman was like that. If only Brahman was as easy as saying number 4. Identified. Actually, if you talk of, I don't know why I chose number 4, but if you talk of from the standpoint of Turiya, it is, so to speak, not the dreamer, not the waker, not the sleeper, but the one that is called the fourth, out of ignorance, out of our own ignorance, because the one that is actually the only one which informs the dreamer, which gives sustenance to the waker, which gives satta, which is the existence of the sleeper, but which is neither dreamer nor sleeper nor waker. So, from the standpoint of the not being any of the three, the fourth one, Turiya, is introduced. But actually, it's that fourth is a spoof. So who said Brahman is not as easy as picking out of a lineup number 4? Why can't you do that? Very easy. See, if we study Vedanta, then that Brahman is you. That Brahman is not outside of that Jagat which you are looking at. It's very easy. It is all Turiya, Turiya, Turiya all the way. Turiya from the standpoint of the one that cognizes all three. And then if you look at it from the standpoint of the whole universe, it is this Brahman. And then Brahman doesn't come by itself, the author reminds us. Acharya here reminds us Brahman never comes by itself. It's always along with Maya Shakti. The Shakti to produce, create, the Shakti to take back, the Shakti to make the one as though into many and sustain that vision of division, so to speak, until knowledge takes place. Brahman always comes with this Shakti. Maya upadanam etat sahacharitam iva. So, just like the instrument is heard along with the particular notes and the general ones, similarly, the Jagat is appreciated as specific discrete entities which are not away from their cause, which is Brahman. What kind of a cause? Just add as though cause, causeless cause. Brahmana bhati shines in the form of Brahman. Itham bhute tritiya. So, Brahmana bhati shines exactly as Brahman, shines non separate from Brahman. Tasmin तस्मिन् ब्रह्मणि प्रत्यक् प्रतीतेन किमपि विषयी भावम् apnoti yasmat. Yasmat, because. What because? Why do you say, how do you say it all shines as Brahman? Because Yasmat, Tasmin, in this Brahman, Pratyak Pratite, when you know, for something to be cognized as an object, na kimapi, not indeed anything, Vishayi bhavam apnoti. There is no specific object that can be independently cognized of this Brahman as consciousness, of this object non separate from that consciousness. There is nothing that has the status of being an object that is separate from Brahman. Therefore, it is mithya alone. Mithya doesn't mean false. Mithya means having the uh, mithya means having a dependent status. Okay, that is what is mithya. Maya upadanam. This is the contribution of Maya. Etat sahacharitam iva. So it's as though Brahman has come along with Maya and shines. Why? Tasmin pratyak pratitena kimapi vishayi bhavam apnoti. Because nothing, nothing is available for a separate, discrete existence outside of Brahman. People say all this all the time. I have trouble concentrating on Brahman. I want to contemplate upon Brahman. I have great trouble. Well, that's because you cannot, you cannot keep on saying Om Brahmane Namaha, because you are that Brahman who is saying Namaha. Okay? So you cannot, I want to contemplate just like you said, but I can't do that. Still, that object buddhi is there, seeing Brahman as an object other than yourself. Om Namah Shivaya, okay, wonderful. Because here we are invoking Brahman in the form of the Lord Shiva, in the form of the one who is pure, freed of papas, and then that, oh Lord, that Lord, may that Lord bless me with the vision that I too am freed of all papas. This is okay. This is a prayer. But nobody should say Om Brahmane Namaha unless you're talking of Sagunam Brahma, unless you're talking of Brahman as an epithet of Bhagavan. That's why even Soham is not a good mantra for chanting. People keep on chanting Soham, Soham. If Bhagavan happens to pass by, Bhagavan will say, oh, that means he or she knows everything, so I don't need to give them anything. And then they will go, Bhagavan will go away. Okay. So here, this is a different kind of contemplation. This is what is advised here is contemplation on your own nature. This is not worship of Brahman. That's where there is trouble. So people keep telling me, and they used to tell Pujya Swami just the same thing too. I cannot focus on Brahman. And so, what is the remedy? Remedy is, Sulabha, very easy. What is the remedy? Please go away from Brahman. When? Right now. That is the remedy. Go away from Brahman. Just say, this Brahman is no good. I cannot focus on you, and you are supposed to be everything, but then you are nowhere to be found. Bye bye, Brahman. Okay? I'm getting away from Brahman. And then see if you can sustain this state of affairs. See if you can do this. Can you go away from Brahman? No. No, I'll go to a far off place. Far off place is Brahman. I'll climb and sit in a tree. Tree is Brahman, branch is Brahman, sitter on the tree, you are also Brahman. No, I'll go on a submarine ride. I will go underneath the ocean. Underneath is the Brahman. Brahma Purastat. What is in front is Brahman. Brahma Pashchatat. What is behind is Brahman. Brahma Adhastat. That which is underneath is Brahman. Brahma Uparishtat. That which is above, up above. The world so high, Brahman. And then what is to the left? Brahman. What is to the right? Brahman. Cardinal directions? Brahman. Non cardinal directions? Brahman. The one who keeps on saying Brahman, 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 Brahman. So see, already you are now contemplating on Brahman. Even while trying to get away from Brahman, you end up contemplating on Brahman as the truth of yourself. So the thing to understand is that Brahman is not a pratyak pratiti. It's not a separate cognition. It does not shine as some kind of a discrete cognition. It's neither a pratiti nor a pratyak pratiti. It is not something that is within. Oh, Brahman is within. Within means where? Have to go to the intestines or what? Within, it is not within, it is not without, and it is not known separately from that condition or that object. It is blessing with its presence, with its consciousness, with its sentience. So, object is Brahman, Brahman is not the object. Subject, of course, is Brahman, but then the witness is Brahman if you say, Sakshi is Brahman if you say, then you cannot be stuck with the status of the Sakshi either. Why? Because that Sakshi is only a status. Sakshi is a status. When there is Sakshya, it is a status relative to that when there is things to observe. When there is nothing to observe, like in sleep or samadhi, well, you are no longer the witness. You cannot say, I am the witness of sleep. That means you'll never go to sleep. When you stop being witness, then only sleep comes. Think about it. So when you give up the sakshita, then only sleep comes. So therefore, but then you are very much there. Consciousness is there in sleep, but not as Sakshi. Consciousness is there in Samadhi, but not as Sakshi. So Sakshi is also not the ultimate. Sakshi we say because it's the easiest and the quickest way to get out of the identification with the body, mind, sense complex, observer, hearer, thinker, seer, doer, etc. But that too is relative. So there is the prithak pratiti or prithak anubhava of Brahman is not possible. It is always in regard to something that is tangible. The intangible, non objectifiable Brahman shines along with always something that is tangible. Tangible is what is called Namarupa, name and form. The intangible is that which animates the Namarupa and makes it worthy of being called a thing. Actually, it is nothing. It is nothing. That which makes nothing into a thing is Brahman. And that Brahman you are as the subject, as non-separate from the object, and most importantly, as transcending the subject-object divide. And this is, that's why we had to spend such a long time on this verse. Very intricate, very beautifully conveyed. And that's why with so much background knowledge we are able to see the truth of this. So when we talk of Maya Upadhi of Brahman, Brahman along with Maya, then we are talking about all knowledge, and we are also to all knowledge, the whole Jagat being all knowledge. Everything shines. When you say, I know flower, when you say this is flower, that means you say, I know this flower. This is and I know this is not separate. You cannot separate the two. They're all one and the same. And so, therefore, this verse, which talks about Brahman as the entire Jagat, including the seer, and the seer seen object subject relationship also is dropped in the wake of the knowledge that all this is just as though. This is where we need to go with this. A few loose ends have to be tied, and there is a very nice verse coming next week. We'll see that. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ थैंक यू